know Mike knows.
I do, but do you want me to, or?
Yeah, nobody else got any ideas? Michael, you know.
Well, it gives you, it helps you manage the time, you know, where you're going. If something isn't working, you can move into something else quickly. You're not, if you're sitting there and you're stuck and you're wondering what to do next, the kids can sense that. Can sense fear. Everything.
Yeah, so I think time management is one of the most important things, because we only have, you know, maybe 50 minutes, 30 or 40 minutes, and we need to teach effectively and maximize the time. So I think sufficient planning is important. For me, I like to begin each day a little bit earlier than 30 minutes, because I need to just get focused for the day, say hi to the managers, address any issues they have. And also it gives me a chance to just get familiar with my surroundings at the school. For example, we always go straight to the textbooks or CDs and prepare that. But there are many other resources that we can use for teaching, as far as reading books, children's books. There are many games, there are photocopies, so there are many things that we can use besides just CDs and textbooks. For example, one school I teach at Yacho Chuo, it has a room that basically is full of toys. And if you just use some creativity, you can actually use those toys to teach the students in a more, I guess, engaging way, besides just textbook and CDs. Also, the reading books, it's really important to give students a chance to read something besides what's just in the textbooks, because they're usually more interested in it. So I try to use reading books once in a while. Also, when you're writing your lesson plan, it's really important to sort of imagine exactly how your class will unfold, because on paper it's really easy to write, oh, we will play sticky ball game, we will play Uno or something, but then maybe your students might not be so good at throwing the ball. And they throw it at the ceiling or something. It's like, oh no, the target, try to hit the target, and it just doesn't work. So I mean, if you overplan, or if you actually are able to try to imagine how your classes might flow, then you'll be able to maybe change on the spot if you have to. Also, sometimes students are too competitive. You might want to play, I don't know, basketball or something, and just students get focused on winning the game as opposed to actually learning English. And so if that happens, then you need to change it. So over time, you will get used to your students, and you'll see how your class will progress, and then that will make planning a lot easier. But I think it's really important to try and come early, write things out really concisely. Because for example, if you read a book, and then next week, oh, what did we read? Oh, and you forgot, and then you try to read it again, they're like, oh, we read this last week. Or if you play a game and it didn't work, then, oh, it didn't work last week, I forgot to write it down, so it'll be confusing.
All falls under planning.
Also, planning, like Michael said, it will give your students, a chance to actually stay focused, because if you're unplanned, it's going to be, time, oh, what do I do? And your students are just going to look at you and say, oh, you're not ready, and then they're going to go off and do something else. There are many times that I have been without stuff to do in AOK classes, but as long as you plan, maybe you'll get through it. I think that's all for me.
Okay. Well, let's move on then to consistency. My man over here said, very important topic. It deserves its own discussion time here. With consistency, a topic we're actually starting to touch on discipline actions too. We should always remain consistent with our disciplinary actions. For example, last week, little Ryuji, he got a star erased from the board because he was out of his chair looking out the window, or just not paying attention. Then this week, you got to make sure to enforce it. Yuki is doing the same thing, so you got to be consistent and make sure that Yuki gets a little penalty too. The boundaries that we set for our classes must be made aware so the kids will understand. Also falling under consistency is classroom planning, of course. Everybody probably already has an idea of what their class plan is. They have an idea of what we're going to do. find out what works for you, and stick with it. I have a layout that's pretty simple, and it works really well for me. I stick with it every week, especially with my younger kids, so that they become accustomed to the routine and know what's going to happen next. Right.
For consistency, what I learned from the teacher before me was maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes of your class, always start kind of the same basic introduction questions. And then the students, they get used to, okay, you're going to ask me my age, when's my birthday, and then they'll actually sort of move from Japanese into English. If we just start with our lesson plan, then it's a bit harder for the students to make the adjustment. But if you go through like basic questions, where are you from, when's your birthday, then they can actually, okay, English time, all right. It makes it a bit easier for them to adjust.
Right. Now, let's move on to hard and soft teaching.
So, let's see. We have hard and soft management techniques. Does anyone know
Or have an idea, their idea of what
hard and soft management techniques might be for controlling your classroom?
Just from our training with Jack, your face, definitely, I know it doesn't necessarily fall under technique, but as far as hard versus soft, definitely not trying to convey a serious point and sitting there smiling and laughing about it, but definitely, not just having fun, and being able to also, convey that you're serious about a topic and not just always playing games, but doing some actual book work as opposed to just activities.
exactly showing your control just through your face or your body actions. Yeah. Anybody else have an idea what something that I would consider that's probably soft teaching, using your face? Yeah.
Maybe hard teaching, excluding them from a game at the beginning until they.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, hard teaching. Sorry, you lost your 3 stars, no game today. Anybody else have any ideas? Yeah.
I'd say just like essentially hard teaching can be very effective to get a student who is not interested at all in English to at least be focused on your curriculum. But soft teaching is really good to encourage kids who are really good to explore English more. So say they're doing well, and maybe they try to make a joke or something in English.
Yeah.
Encourage them to explore and have fun with English and think English is fun. And that makes it very useful. It's a very useful tool to get somebody at a very early age to enjoy English and not just study it.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Good. So we touched upon a few, soft teaching techniques already, such as verbal reprimand, stop, calm down. Also, different types of body language, from hard stares, silence, maybe clapping your hands, tapping the table. I don't know. There are different.
Raising your voice.
There are different types. It's also important maybe to sort of challenge your students, because maybe they're just bored. They're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna look over here because you're not paying attention to me. I'm done with my workbook. So in those situations, it's important to try and challenge your students. Maybe ask them alternate questions, or if you're doing flashcard drills, ask them something kind of random, like, oh, how old are you? You're like, oh, it makes them, and it's a bit harder for them, and they won't get bored maybe as easily. Also, if maybe something does happen, then you can have the student, stand up and recite the alphabet or the months. And it's kind of funny, it's like, oh, A, B, C, D, and then, it's practice for them. They might get a little embarrassed, but it's not as severe as, oh, you can't play a game, or, oh, get out of class, or something like that. So it's a bit soft.